is closed to the public. This is our first CAC meeting since mid-March and the last CAC meeting of this council. The most up-to-date meeting package is on the Town of Kentville website. The public may send questions directly to the recording secretary's email at jwest@kentville.ca. This meeting is called to order. Have all of the councillors received and reviewed their meeting package? Does any member of council have information pertaining to a matter before this council which has not been publicly circulated? Tonight's meeting will return to our standard Council Advisory Committee CAC methodology. We will vote as a committee to either send business forward to the council meeting for ratification, return to staff for further information, or review or defeat the recommendation. I will remind members of council that we should continue to be mindful of our decision-making wheel to make balanced and respectful decisions while adhering to our code of conduct. We, again, will be voting by poll, and then call your name and ask, how say you? This method permits us to verbally record your votes. Are there any conflict of interest issues we should be aware of before we continue? CAO Smith, could you please take the roll call?
Thank you, Your Worship. We have all members of council present this evening. All of our directors and Chief Chichetto are with us this evening. Plus we have staff members Jennifer West and Jason Bethune helping us to run the meeting this evening.
Thank you. CAO, we have been provided with a proposed agenda. Do you have anything to add?
Not so much to add, but at least to explain, Your Worship. If you look down on between item 8 and item 9 on the agenda, we're proposing a brief recess in the council meeting, or sorry, a brief recess in the CAC meeting so that we conduct a special council. And what's happened here under item 4A, under the Finance Department report, you'll see reference to a Valley Waste Guarantee resolution. The Valley Waste folks have asked us to do our very best to move it along quickly. So we've scheduled a special council. And the reason we've suggested a recess is so that folks who are watching on Facebook Live can see essentially the whole meeting before we break for the small in-camera portion. So we're putting the special council in the middle of it all, not to confuse people, but just to allow the people watching on Facebook Live to see essentially a whole session before we adjourn and do the brief in-camera portion.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Solicitor, do you have any comments on this procedure?
No. When we get to it, it will simply be an adjournment for a specified period of time until after the council meeting, and then CAC will continue its meeting at that point.
Okay, thank you very much. Are there any further additions or deletions to this agenda? If not, if I could have a motion to accept the agenda.
So moved.
Thank you. And a seconder?
Second.
Thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? The motion is carried. Thank you. We have no CAC minutes to approve as the CAC minutes from the March 9th meeting were previously approved. We have no presentations this evening, so the directors have provided their reports for your review and are present if there are any questions. CAO Smith, if you could please introduce our department reports and recommendations.
Thank you, and I'll say very little because each of the directors is online available to take your questions. So I think we'll start with finance, and I believe Bev has a bit of information to provide on her report and the projection report and the Valley Waste resolution. So
Excellent.
Deborah.
Thank you, Brian. That's great. And good evening to everybody. It's nice to be back to regular meeting sessions. I have forwarded the director's report for the month ended September the 30th, 2020. I'm not going to go through it in great detail. I will highlight a few things. Basically, our revenues at September 30 are well over the average, which would be about 50% if everything was averaged evenly over the year. We're looking at revenue at September 30th sitting at 81.7%. You can read through where all that the extra revenue comes from. Most of it comes from our tax levy, which was billed out in its entirety at the in August and was actually due September 30th. On the expenditure side of the ledger, the benchmark would be the same 50%. And we're looking at the expenditures at September 30th falling below the benchmark at this point in time at 45.8%. You can read through my report as to the departments that are showing slightly over the benchmark and the reasons why. One thing I did want to highlight to council is the summary of outstanding taxes, which is Schedule C. At September 30th, 92.8% of the 2021 levy is collected. And this is compared to last year's figure of 92.5% collected. So we're ahead of last year at September 30, which is amazing, especially in this COVID year. Total property tax outstanding at September 30 is $714,862. And this is a little bit ahead of last year at $720,181. So this is really good news for the town. It gives us the money to operate for the rest of the year. There are some taxes that are outstanding and we'll be collecting those as the year progresses. Right now at September 30 in total, we have collected 92.6% of the tax levies. This is the current levy and anything that was outstanding from last year. So that is good news. There's some information in Schedule Z and F on the perpetual fund related to the meeting that was held on October the 7th by the Investment Advisory Committee. You can read that at your leisure. And then on page 4 of my report, I have information related to the capital investment plan for 2021. Right at the date of writing last week for September 30th, 22.7% of our capital program has been expended. The total is $484,280. You can pick through that, schedules G1 to G7, to see exactly where that money has been spent and the funding sources related to what has been built to date. And that's my report from the Finance Department for the month ended September 30.
Thank you, Director Kroll. Are there any questions for the director?
Just one, if I could. I'm not sure if I can put my hand up on. Oh, yeah, I guess I can. Maybe I can't. Okay, I'm trying. Sorry, I'm working from my phone. No, I just wanted to say that I'm not sure if there's been a slow evolution of the way our financial documents are presented, but or I'm just at last getting a better grasp of these things. I'm not sure, but they seemed especially clear. And anyway, they were just kind of a pleasure to go through, and wanted to thank you for your preparation of our finances.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Councillor Bolland.
Thank you, Worship. Through to Deborah. Under projections, can I ask a question regarding that?
No, not projections. We're looking at the one that she just completed, the report to council on the finance. So projections is next. Councillor Maxwell? Okay. All right, Director Kroll, is back to you.
Thank you very much, Your Worship. The next report from the Finance Department is the projection report, and this is the very first projection report for the year 2021. I am projecting a deficit position for the town $67,800, and this is not uncommon at September. It's basically the worst case scenario. We're compiling everything that we're scraping up everything we can and putting it into this projection report. We're very mindful, the director's very mindful of their own budgets. They're monitoring the budgets, especially in this COVID year. And that is, besides Mother Nature and winter, COVID-19, how this really affects us at the end of the day is really an unknown. We don't know what the winter is going to hold for us. But on the date that I wrote this, this is the way the town's position looked. So we're looking at a deficit position, and I'll give you a little bit of a snapshot, if you'd like, of where that came from. Revenue is decreased this month by $75,300. This is where the decreases or increases or the changes in revenue streams came from. Taxes are down $12,900 from budget. taxation overall is up $14,100, but the hydrant area rate is down $25,200. And this is related to the formula from the URB. It's formula driven. Once that formula was calculated after the Water Commission's financial statements were presented, the amount that the town has to pay is less than what we had budgeted, $25,200. It is a nil effect to the town because the expenditure side of the ledger is also down $25,200. We're looking at payments in lieu of tax from the federal government. We've received that money and it is good news. We are up $21,700 from budget. This is basically a wild card. The federal government reassesses its own properties at its leisure. But we've made out this year. Some years we're under budget. This year we're over $21,700. Services provided, that section is down $19,500. This year, Public Works Department has determined it cannot plow the county sidewalks. The county has added a great deal of sidewalks in the county, and Kentville has also added sidewalks. We don't know what COVID will, how COVID will affect our crew members in the winter. So we thought it best to give them advance warning that we won't be able to step up to the plate, and they have found, I believe, an alternative to look after their own sidewalks in the county. On the sales, we're down $70,800, and $75,000 of that is coming back. Back has fallen short during the COVID months, especially March, April, May, and June. That bill just was sent out last Friday to back check. However, whether it holds is anybody's guess, but to err on the side of caution, I've discounted back check revenue by $75,000. Own source revenue is down $67,100. Fines are down $6,700. Parking tickets were forgiven for until I believe October the 1st during the COVID months. Rentals are down $50,400. You can read through that section to find out various rentals in the town could not happen because of the COVID months. We did remove 50%, at least 50% of the rentals. We had hoped that things would open up, but because of social distancing and the protocols that the province has put in place, while rentals have slowly opened up, we still are going to have a loss in the rental section. Interest is down $10,000. In the projection report, and this comes from the fact that we forgave interest on our taxes and our utility bills for April to June 30th. Under conditional transfers, we're up $26,900 in that section. This is $10,500 unbudgeted was coming in from the federal government related to summer jobs in the Recreation Department. Efficiency Nova Scotia forwarded $15,000 to help pay for the PACE application that happened earlier this year. And various monies came in, small amounts, $1,400 came in from the province for various recreation programs. Transfers from our own reserves on the revenue side of the ledger up $47,800, and this is to offset the APA, the Atlantic Police Association's retro remuneration that was paid out in July. Adding all those numbers up, we're looking at a decrease in revenue from budget of $75,300. On the expenditure side of the ledger, expenditures expect to fall under budget $7,500. And this is the makeup of the $7,500. Legislative is projected to be down $9,500, and this is related to savings in the mayor and council's expenses related to no conferences, meetings, that type of thing due to COVID-19. General administration is up $83,100 from budget, $7,500 in changes to remuneration and staffing complement. The office section is up $92,800 related to consulting fees and legal expenses. And the program section is down $2,300, and this relates to sections 69 and 71 of the MGA, which are the low income exemptions and the charitable organizations exemption. Police protection is up $26,300 and relates to retro pay and staffing changes. We have protection sales as service. This is back check revenue. It's back check expenditure, pardon me. It's $15,700 reduced due to reduction in part-time remuneration paid because of COVID-19. and the shutdown that happened earlier this year. Law enforcement is also down $37,400 related to savings in legal related to the APA negotiations and savings in crossing guards. The schools closed in March and did not open until September. Protection fire is down $25,200. I spoke with this earlier. It's related to the hydrant area rate calculation that occurred after the financial statements were complete for the water utility, nil effect to the town. There's a small increase in EMO related to some summer storms, $3,200 increase summer storms, and some gorge repairs related to actually to Hurricane Dorian, $2,300 there. Transportation is up $9,800. Most of it is related to King's Transit Authority, its deficit position that it forwarded to the town, along with a study that was done by the municipality of the County of Kings that we offered to cost share. And there's actually a lost invoice that was over a year old that we just got hold of this year, and we've paid that. Environmental health is also up $6,900. It relates to the 50% of that study I just spoke of a few moments ago. There's also a reduction in the air pollution account of $1,500 in that account. Public health is down $16,300, and it relates to savings related to the prior year accrual that was set up. So that I've taken that back into the expenditure side, gives us $16,300 less in that particular section. We're looking at recreation being down $33,100 from budget. Programs will be up $21,700 because of all the virtual programming that was done, but it is offset, if you recall, from the federal Canada Summer Jobs I spoke of in the revenue section of $10,500. Other parks is down $10,000 from budget. There was no horticulturalists this year. No tree plantings have occurred to date. Facilities are down $35,700. Relates to parks and playgrounds closures due to COVID-19. Cultural is down $9,100. The library was closed during the first wave, and the regional library did not invoice us for its proposed increase, so there were savings there for the regional library of around $5,900. So adding all of those things up, we come to the fact that we're projecting that expenditures will be under budget, $7,500. And we're looking at a projected deficit March 31st, 2021 of $67,800.
Thank you, Director Kroll. Are there any questions for the director on the projection? Councillor Bolland.
Yeah, thank you, Worship. Good job, Director Kroll, Deborah. Going to back check, it's shocking to see it's down that much, but if you're seeing an uptick in the last 30 days, maybe there's no cause for alarm.
We might squeak out. This is like what I would said, a worst case scenario. I erred on the side of caution. Let's put it all out there now. And if I pull it back over the next couple of months, I'll be pulling it back. If the
back check represents a huge revenue stream for us. Is that contract up in the next year or two, or?
That contract does not have an end date.
Oh, it used to.
It
Okay.
did. I believe it did, but this contract does not have an end date. It can be ended by either party with certain notice, but there is no end date.
Okay. Last question. Under conditional transfer, so the PACE program that we didn't engage on, efficiency gave us $15K towards that. Is that any of that returnable, or is that just?
The expenditure side of the whole PACE application was somewhere around $22,000. So it was the $15,000 plus the $5,000 the town had committed actually paid for the application. So the money is gone.
So where did the $15,000? What did that represent in the whole thing?
Well, it was we put in 5 and they put in 15,000. So somewhere around $20,000 was the application.
Okay.
So it was basically there is no savings for us. The money does not have to be returned. It's been spent. It's been
Right.
paid out to the PACE organization.
Yeah. Okay. Good. Thank you. Yep.
Councillor Maxwell. You're on mute.
Thank you, Deb. I'm just wondering on page 27 under environmental development, the second point there, environmental development, community development section will exceed budget by 16,200, mainly due to survey costs. Is that surveying in the industrial park, or what survey costs are those?
It could be survey costs on what we call the Kentfield Future Sites, which is River Street as well.
Okay. So the industrial park plus River Street, right?
Yes.
Yeah, okay, thank you.
Are there any further questions for the director? There being no further questions, Director Kroll, you can proceed with your next item, please.
Thank you very much. The next item on the agenda is the Valley Waste Guarantee Resolution. Valley Region Solid Waste Resource Management Authority approved the temporary borrowing resolution on September the 16th for $945,000 for several budgeted capital acquisitions, and the copy is attached for your perusal. Individual guarantee resolutions were then forwarded to each of the authority's partners for each council's approval. Kentfield's share is 9.99%, or $94,406. The town would be responsible for this amount only if Valley Region Solid Waste Resource Management Authority defaulted on its debt repayment. The attached municipal partner guarantee resolution requires council's authorization, after which 2 copies will have to be returned to Valley Region Solid Waste Resource Management Authority for them to complete their paperwork. So I recommend to Council Advisory Committee that it ratifies the guarantee resolution that is noted below. And following this, it's duly authorized and completed in triplicate, 2 original documents will be returned to the Valley Region Solid Waste Management Authority, and we'll retain 1 copy for our files. Guarantee resolution for Valley Region Solid Waste, and the guarantee amount is $94,406. And you will see all of the attachments, the temporary borrowing resolution that was approved by Valley Waste and its authority. You'll see Schedule B and Schedule A, which show the capital projects and the split between the municipal partners. And the very last page is what council needs to ratify tonight, is the guarantee for Kentville for $94,406.
Thank you, Director Kroll. So we have a recommendation to ratify the guarantee resolution for Valley Region Solid Waste Resource Management Authority in the amount of $945,000, of which the town of Kentville's share is 9.9%, for a total of $94,406. Following approval at the October 13th special council meeting, the resolution will be duly authorized and completed in triplicate, with 2 original documents returned to Valley Region Solid Waste Resource Management Authority. And if I could have a motion on that, please.
So moved.
Councilor Boland, thank you.
I'll
And
second.
our second,
I'll second it.
thank you. It has been moved and seconded that council recommend approval of the guarantee resolution for Valley Region Solid Waste Resource Management Authority in the amount of $945,000, to which the town of Kentville's share is 9.9%, for a total of $94,406. And further, following approval at the October 13th special council meeting, the resolution will be duly authorized and completed in triplicate, with 2 original documents returned to Valley Region Solid Waste Resource Management Authority. Is there any discussion? Councilor Gerard, you have a question.
Thank you, Your Worship. Director Kroll, under land for future expansion, do you know if they're planning, or maybe Councilor Boland could answer this? Are they planning on purchasing land, or is that land they already own and that cost is for clearing the land and getting it ready to utilize?
I'm afraid I can't answer the question. I was given no particulars on what the makeup was.
Okay.
Councilor Boland, could you field that question?
There's a piece of adjoining land that they wish to purchase for future expansion. So, yes,
Okay.
that's all I can really
Thank
say.
you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right, satisfactory. Are there any further
Yes,
questions?
thank you.
Are there any further questions? Are you ready for the question? The question is to recommend approval of the guarantee resolution for Valley Region Solid Waste Resource Management Authority in the amount of $94,406, $945,000, of which the town of Kentville share is 9.9%, for a total of $94,406. And further, following approval at the October 13th special council meeting, the resolution will be duly authorized and completed in triplicate, with 2 original documents returned to Valley Region Solid Waste Resource Management Authority. Deputy Mayor, how say you?
Yes.
Councillor Andrew, how say you?
Yes.
Councillor Bolland, how say you?
Yes.
Councillor Maxwell, how say you?
Yes.
Councillor Pulsifer, how say you?
Yes.
Councillor Savage, how say you?
Yes.
I say yes, the motion is carried. Thank you very much. Thank you, Director Kroll.
Welcome.
And we're moving on to planning.
Good evening. Thank you, Your Worship. You do have the report. I think I'll just highlight 2 of the biggest things at this point. Under development permits, we have $2.4 million worth of building valuation services, building permits that were issued this month. One is for a new office building that will be built across from the fire department. Those footings will be going in relatively soon. And as noted, Ryan's Park, that development, all the permits have been submitted and sent to the county. Prior to sending this out to you folks and posting it, we didn't have all the permit fees and amounts calculated. But that project's going to be just over $2 million with the 4 buildings that they're planning on putting in there. It's pretty exciting. And I think I sent council and the mayor a link to their new website that they just started up last week. It's going to be a beautiful development. We're quite excited about it.
It certainly is. I see Deputy Mayor, you have a question for the director.
Yes, thank you. Let me see. Director Gentleman, under Miners Landing development, what does it mean, the realignment of property lines?
Yeah, I think we chatted a bit about this last month. There was some topography issues that they were having problems with on the west side adjacent to the cemetery, that they had to move the building further east, and as a result of that, they had to adjust the property lines in order to meet their required setbacks.
Okay, I guess I don't quite understand. How do you readjust your property lines? Isn't a property a property?
No, but you can change your property lines by through a survey and a subdivision application.
Okay.
Okay, so there were 4 lots there, and they ended up having to adjust one of the property lines so that they could move the building. And
okay,
the building, it was sitting upon the property so that it was meeting all the rear and side yard setbacks.
Okay, my mistake. I assumed the property line, when you have a property outline like this, that the boundaries against the neighbor, but you're actually talking about they adjusted for the building.
Right. So they have 4 properties in there for financing purposes that they had to undertake. So.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Councillor Maxwell, you have a question for the director.
I do, thank you. Director, gentlemen, I'm just looking at Miners Landing as well, and there's quite an excavation there on the graveyard side. I'm wondering is there going to be a retaining wall put there, or what's going to prevent any erosion from taking place on that graveyard side?
So they stayed away. They stayed 30 feet away, I believe, from the property line at the along the graveyard site. It wasn't these developers that had done the excavation. It was a prior property owner who had sold a lot of the aggregate to Department of Transportation and the sand and the soil. We were in contact with Department of Environment during the time because we did have concerns. We did have some discussions with the caretakers of the cemetery, that they did have some concerns, but they were far enough away that the excavation that they undertook did not affect the side of the grave site.
Okay, so the graveyard owners were okay with that? Okay.
We had some concerns about it.
Yeah.
We did everything we could to make sure that all applicable requirements were met, especially by environment. We had thought that because it was what I would have considered a quarry, because of the size of it, they didn't have to go through Department of Environment because it was too small. So.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
You're welcome.
No further questions for the director on the planning report? All right, you have been provided with the Community and Economic Development report. Are there any questions for the CAO on this matter? Councillor Maxwell, your hand is still up or up?
Oh, just taking some notes here, just a second.
Okay. Okay, very good. No questions on the Community and Economic Development report. So
Actually, if I could, Mayor Snow.
go ahead.
Yeah, my apologies for not. I don't seem to be able to click the regular button I would click, so my apologies there. Just with regard to the pumpkin people, so there's some of you may have received calls as well. So there's a man in town who had been decorating pumpkin, using pumpkins to decorate, apparently predating the pumpkin our festival, and I'm just wondering if anyone has received that information as well, and if there's a way we can kind of acknowledge that I've received, and I can pass it on to council. I received an old article from the Advertiser in which this was highlighted, and anyway, so I don't know if it's that a person is looking for some recognition, or I'm just wondering if it's something that maybe could even be put on our website or something, just to more, not to take away from the people who do the hard work that it takes to do the pumpkin people as is, but just to maybe as part of our harvest time or part of, anyway, it's just kind of a looking back thing. And I've received a couple of nudges about this over the last year, actually.
Councillor Andrews, if you'd like to send that along to me, I'll have a look at it.
Okay, beautiful. Thank you.
Councillor Maxwell.
Yes, thank you. Sorry, Bev, I had one other question. Under permit number 3796, the one on the second page here, there's a value of construction of 0, but yet we charged a fee of $50 for a new wall sign and window sign for the haunted house. I'm wondering why we charged when there's no value of construction there.
All sign permits have a $50 fee assigned to it.
Okay, good. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Are there any further questions before we move on? All right, we're moving on to our Parks and Recreation. Are there any questions for the director, or did you want to highlight anything in your report?
I can highlight a few things if folks want. Just a few things I think people should take note of. So our Kenful Arena, as you know, is up and running. We've slowly been working through all of the changing protocols around COVID for this arena. So it started with user groups only, and even they were at limited numbers. So throughout the summer and now coming into the fall and into the winter, we've been working with a lot of groups to make sure that they are abiding by the rules that come out of their own sport organization, and those sport organizations have approved plans from the health minister. But now that things have been relaxed a little bit, we've actually been able to open up, and almost all of our prime time, it's slowly getting booked up again, so which is quite exciting. And probably the thing that's really exciting is that we're slowly figuring out how to get back into public skates. So you've noticed that we've started adult skates and adult shinny which is quite a big deal to make sure that everyone has access to this facility, not just those folks who are registered for a youth organization. So that's exciting. I just wanted to highlight under programs the great work that Lydia has been doing with the starting of the school season. She's been working quite closely with the school to make sure they have everything they need to have as easy of a transition back into the school year as possible. And this includes getting kids more active to and from school. So she and some other staff have been out on the trail along with Spike at 7 in the morning and after school and giving hugs and handing out tattoos. And just trying to ease the pressures and stresses of school, which has been really great, and also to give some high fives and make sure everybody knows that Spike in the town are with them. With Capital, I wanted to highlight around the playground piece. I know the school and community has been waiting a long time for that. We still have not received the piece. So it doesn't look like it's going to get in before the winter, which is unfortunate. We're still, again, it's held up in shipping, as is a lot of things during COVID, but I just wanted to let you know that we're not just sitting on it somewhere. For the engagement, public engagement piece, hopefully everyone saw how we celebrated the volunteers this year. It was certainly different, but Ashley did a fantastic job and hand delivered everyone with a gift basket, which was filled with a whole bunch of Kentville goodies. And then we celebrated our own Harlan for his work with the auxiliary, which was fantastic as our volunteer of the year. That was, and then there was a provincial ceremony if anyone was able to tune into that online. And I also wanted to give a shout out to our amazing staff again for those that experienced Harvest Fest, which looked very different this year. But I can tell you that everybody came together, and it's still, of course, going on. We had over 200 pumpkins throughout our town on the trails and the parks, and within 48 hours, about 85% of them were found, which is pretty exciting with the codes entered. And it was just a really neat way to engage our community in a time when it's hard to engage and hard to feel that sense of camaraderie. So we were pretty excited about that. And then lastly, under council priorities, I think it's important to note that the accessibility committee met, and we did choose our consulting firm to help us create the accessibility plan for the town of Kentville, which is quite exciting. Officially, we chose Houdini Design and Architects, and they have partnered with Reachability, which is an association that works with directly with persons with a disability. So we're just getting ready for our preliminary meetings with that organization, and we're quite excited to move forward. And that's everything.
Perfect, thank you. Are there any questions for the director? Councillor Savage.
Thank you, Worship. Director Bedingfield, I just wanted to say congratulations on the Canadian Parks Leadership Program. It's pretty impressive that you're taking part of this, and it fits really well into our strategic plan. And I'm just very proud that you're a part of this, that we're a part of this, and I can't wait to see the great works that come out of it. So kudos to you on that. Thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate it. It's been very good to stretch my brain in that academic world again. So I'm excited to see what comes out of it too.
Deputy Mayor. So I see.
Thank you, Worship. Director Bedingfield, the whole fall festive season is wonderful, and this isn't a comment it's a comment more than a question or anything. And I don't know how you would remedy it. Perhaps you can't remedy it, but the town looks wonderful, and it doesn't last all that long. But for visitors to come to town when it is fall cleanup and they want to see the pumpkin people, yet in certain spots they drive by and there's piles of garbage. Again, I don't know whether it's something we can remedy with Valley Waste and say, do you mind doing it in November? I don't know, but aside from that, everything looks wonderful. Thank you.
I think I would say that staff agree with you, and I believe Lindsay has talked to them before. I see Brian wanting to talk. Maybe he has a magical solution.
I don't have anything to report other than an email went to manager Andrew Wart today to remind him of the circumstance and the outstanding request. I guess it's been for a few years now to try to change the date of the fall cleanup, and the request has been formalized again today. So we'll have to see what next year brings.
Thank
you.
you. Councillor Andrew, go ahead, please.
I just wanted to note, and also Rachel and because I know you folks have been engaged in really busy and been a big important part of, along with Lindsay and KBC and others. It's been a really fun fall in Kentville so far, in spite of the challenges we're facing. But one thing that I've heard from a few people, as though I mean, it's not in my power, of course, but I've had a few people who, quite a number actually, who said, please, please, please don't close the trail again. So anyway, as people get concerned about an uprise in COVID cases in New Brunswick and fears around the second wave, anyway, I'm just going to throw that out there, that I've heard it, and it certainly goes with I think Councillor Maxwell's thoughts around closing the trail initially was we need to be really cautious about that. I think we were trying to be cautious in all the right ways when we made the decision, but heard lots of opinions about that, and people are concerned as we go into that we maintain freedom as well as the ability to get exercise and enjoy the birds and nature. Thanks.
Yeah, we certainly heard from a lot of folks, and it was a similar trend across the country about how people became quite vocal when they weren't able to access their beloved green spaces. In the return to play plan that council approved however many months ago, it does say in there that the trails will be open throughout the different phases, but of course that's up to council in the end to decide.
Thank you. Councillor Bolland.
Thank you, Worship. I just want to say, as others have, well done on the Pumpkin Festival. I think it's the best ever. The creativity of it, of the sketches, the kids love it. We've had great weather. You know, what a great way to bring people to town. So, and the weather has worked well for us too. So, pass that on. And on another note, Rachel, as you know, I'm not going to be around much longer in this capacity. But I may bring back the Pumpkin Mile race next year that I created. So I know you have a file on that. All of our stats, and your husband and I laid out the course and measurements, etc. So maybe you can pass it on to, you're shaking your head, CEO Smith, and I'll collect that.
Perfect.
End of the month.
Great. And I'll pass along to Jerry because he works tirelessly with those pumpkin people. I'm not sure how he does it. Putting out over 300 pumpkin people every year is a feat.
But I'll collect the Pumpkin Mile information you have from Brian Smith, if you don't mind.
Okay, very good. Are there any further questions for the director? All right, moving on. You have before you the chief's report. Are there any questions for the chief? Or anything you wanted to add, Chief?
I would just say the back check numbers, they did come up in September, and that's probably because school sports are opening and a lot of volunteer opportunities are opening again. So unless we have another shutdown, and keeping in mind we draw from all across the country. So if Canada starts to shut down again, our numbers will probably drop. But right now we're back almost to where we would have been last year for the month of September. So fingers crossed. And I heard mention of tickets in Harlan a little bit ago. And so in August, Harlan gave out 41 tickets, and in September, 66. So he is starting to give out tickets again. Not up to the 100 plus that were being given pre-COVID, but he is trying to balance keeping people coming to our businesses and parking enforcement. So there's a delicate balance there, and we don't want to discourage people from coming to the town. So those are the only two things I would have to add.
All right, thank you, Chief. And we have a question, Councillor Savage.
Thank you, Worship. Chief, just a question around the back check. So I know as Deborah covered off in her report, it does represent a fairly sizable amount of revenue for the town. So what portion of our back check revenue comes from the bubble, Atlantic?
I actually wouldn't have any way of knowing that because they just put files into our queue. So without actually kind of doing a count, I wouldn't know. We do, I think, Deb, correct me if I'm wrong, but around $15,000 a year just at our front door. Does that sound around?
It could be 10,000 or so that comes through your door.
Yeah, so we do have a small number that's directly Kenful related, because we only do people in our town at the front door.
Okay, great. Thank you. Helpful. Thanks.
All right. No further questions for the chief. We'll move on to our engineering and public works. You have the report. Are there any questions for the director or Director Bell? Was there anything that you wanted to highlight?
I think the only thing to really highlight, Your Worship, is of course today the bridge opened at least partially. Traffic was flowing in both directions, albeit one at a time, with traffic control on our new bridge. It's a pretty exciting day. And as CAO Smith mentioned, I think we do want to put out a thanks to the province and DTIR for their work. It seems like it has been a number of years in the making, but we really see the finish line now. Still a bit of work to do on the south side of the bridge. That's that work on Aberdeen and Cornwallis Corner. Fair bit to go there, but it's really come along. The traffic lights, the temporary lights, should be down today, and they should be on our original, I say old in quotes, traffic lights back up and working tonight if all went well. I left to come home before that they finished for the day. I guess a segue into that, I met with Black and McDonald today at the bridge to look at the lights. They are certainly aged and 35 or so years old, original lights. They'll need a little work that is outside the scope of the province's work for the bridge. So they're doing some evaluation for us now, and we'll have some prices to us within the week. So I'll be letting Deb know and you as well what those projected costs will be. We also want to thank Dexter Construction and all their sub-trades for the work on the bridge, and you'll see things keep sort of coming together as in the next 2 weeks. They'll still be around well into November with finishing touches, but the patience of our residents and visitors is appreciated as well with the traffic delays and sitting in lines and things like that. But it's certainly coming to a near end. Thank you.
Thank you. We have some questions. Councillor Savage.
I don't have a question. I forgot to lower my hand.
Okay, then Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Worship. Director Bell, two questions. You had mentioned about the lights at the base of Belter Street, and they are going to need some work. Will they be functional? I assume the bridge is going to be finished fairly soon. Will they be functional before we get to a point where we need more money from council?
Yeah, they will be functional. Every intersection has multiple heads. There's a high one and a low one, and it's the high ones that have taken the beating in the wind over the last 30-some years, and they've just worn to a point of no repair. So it's those longer hanging center of the travelway heads that we're looking at to be replaced. The ones that are lower, the lower ones more on the side of the pole are functioning, and it does make the intersection functional. And they are supposed to be on tonight with two-way traffic, both going across the new bridge. The old bridge may never see another regular traffic on it. So we're on the new bridge. There's some things that aren't done, like perhaps the slip lane coming from Brooklyn Street. That may still, I don't know, as of this afternoon, it wasn't complete, but they're trying to make this as functional, all at once as they can. But the lights are working, and they just need some repair and a couple of the newer main, sort of the longest hanging over the intersection heads. The ones that are up there now are worn and they can't really be adjusted, and the angle now is changed from the old bridge to the new, so they're almost pointing more at the old bridge. So it is a little That's not the only reason we need to change them, but that's part of the reason. The fact that they're so worn, they can't be even re-aimed at the new alignment of the new bridge.
Okay. And second thing quickly, and I've received a couple of calls about this over the last week or so. And of course, there's an election coming, so people are putting in their 2 cents worth. But the grass on Belcher Street, we still have a holdback from.
We do. We have that holdback. Dexter knows they're not going to receive it because I've offered it to them 3 times now, and they just seem to not be bothered. So I spoke with with Rachel, but mostly with Kevin Bennett as well, and to see what we could do about. I still think probably hydro seeding would be preferred to sodding there. It's hardier and it will take better. What was put in a year and a half ago, prior to Apple Blossom, was done with wet sod that was cut. Try to get it ready to look nice for that May of 18. So I think the right thing to do is the hydro seed, and we can do it for that money that we've held. But again, we seem to have missed that window just with the busyness of Parks and Rec this year.
So that's not on the agenda for this year.
Well, it's October.
And the only reason
13th,
I say that is our window of opportunity is, and if we wait too long next spring and we're into a really warm June like we did this year, then we're gonna end up with the exact same problem where it's just gonna grow a bit and dry out.
In my opinion, tilled up in the as soon as the dryness of April is over, if May starts. May's the time, I think, myself, you know better perhaps, Craig, to hydro seed, but I think it's beyond that point of warmth now to really germinate.
Okay. Yeah. Nope. That's perfect. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Councillor Maxwell.
Thank you. Director Bell, we discussed this a little bit earlier about the issues that they're having up on Apple Tree Lane and the rest of that subdivision with their high-speed internet and it cutting out during rain and things like that. And with COVID and people working from home, this became a real issue for people up there. Mm-hmm. And as I said, I don't know if you're familiar with that file or not, but Nova Scotia Power, I am told, is going to go up there and do some work. And mm-hmm. I think, and I don't understand all the intricacies of everything, but I think that it's conduit that they're looking for from us to somehow Bell wants us to put conduit in or something like that. So I'm just wondering if you could review that file and take a look at it.
I will, Councillor Maxwell, but I know, other subdivisions, even newer ones such as McDougall Heights, Alliant themselves, are responsible to put that conduit in, or even do directional drilling, trenchless drilling, to put, to less disturbance. Sometimes they would lay the sod through, or lay sod. I got thinking of Belcher. Lay the conduit under the sod in a property, but then drill into the driveways to minimize the disturbance. But that was at their cost. I mean, those are their customers. I know there are citizens, but it's their customers that they're getting that revenue from, and it's whoever's going to do it first, I guess, whether it's Eastlink or Alliant, Bell Alliant. They both have, I think, reliable packages. But if that subdivision doesn't have it, I certainly will look at the file. But I don't think it's ever been the town that has put in conduit for either Bell, Eastlink, or NS Power. But I will look into it.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Councillor Bolland.
Yeah, thank you, Worship. Director Bell, I want to go back to the lighting issue at the bridge. It seems like a cart before the horse situation. I know you've only been on with us for a few months now, so is this
1 year today?
So is this an oversight going back over a year? Did the province bring this up sooner? It just seems kind of odd to me. The new bridge is virtually open, and someone from the province makes a comment about the lights, which many of us have had comments about the lights, the conditioning, right, etc. But I wanted to ask that question. It seems like an oversight somewhere.
I don't think it's as much as an oversight. The province relocated 2 of the lights. The 2 on the south side, they had to move 15 feet or so to the east. The 2 on the north side haven't moved, and they won't move. They're where they always were. It's, you know, it certainly is a worn out issue. It's an issue that is just, you know, over time has gotten worse and worse. No, I don't, you know, I don't see it as an oversight as much, Councillor Bolland, as just, I wish it had been done sooner. But Black and Mac are going to you know, to get that corrected for us as soon as possible. They are functioning now as is, but the work just needs to be done this fall.
Okay.
All right. Well, Director Bell, you took the big thunder away on the bridge, which is absolutely wonderful, because when there's so many people involved in something, you know, you start naming names, and then invariably you forget somebody. But I also want to I want to say that a big thank you to Town of Kentville staff, and you know, and the work that you've done there. We had a phone call today from a citizen who drove over it for the first time, and she was absolutely moved by how beautiful it is, and like she said, the number of times that she sat there in traffic this summer and watching those guys in their full construction gear in that heat, and she said she felt for every one of them. The other thing we have to look at and thank our citizens and our downtown merchants who, you know, September was a hard month for some of them, worse than most of the COVID months, because of the slowdowns at the bridge. But you know what? At the end of the day, I don't think that any one of us is going to remember how long we actually sat at that bridge as we go over it. So it is a thing of beauty as we say farewell to our old silver link and move on to the new. So
Yeah.
Thank you for that, and please pass on our thanks to the entire project team over there at the bridge.
I will. Thank you, Your Worship.
All right, since there's no further questions, we'll move on to the admin portion, and CAO, I will hand it over to you.
Always works better when I unmute. Thank you, Your Worship. I'll be very brief. I think I'll just hit under the projects and programs heading on my report. With the help of the directors and CUPE and a few other people, we've been developing human resource guidelines specifically to respond to the COVID issues that have been creeping up and will continue and perhaps get worse, but it's a matter of what kind of leave is available, when it's necessary, what to do if your children are sick or sent home by the school and all that sort of thing. So we're rolling that document out this week after many, many revisions as we've learned what to do. I'm still doing the background work on the CAO recruitment, but I'm hoping, as council had understood, that we would wait until the election and then issue the advertisement. So I hope to have that ready. And thank you for both council and staff who've given me some advice on preparing the job description, the requirements, and that sort of thing. And also, I'm planning, or there's a group of us working around council orientation and looking at possibly having half-day Thursday morning sessions for a while in order to cover the topics that we need to cover. So you can expect those of you who are successful and are not stepping down, you can expect to hear from our staff early next week on council orientation processes as we go. So that's it, unless there's any questions.
Thank you. Thank you. Are there any questions for the CAO on his report? You also have the monthly communication report and as well the returning officer report. So if any of those three, if you had any questions for the CAO. Nothing at all? All right then. I would entertain a motion to accept the staff reports as presented. Thank you, Councillor Bolland. And a second? Thank you, Councillor Pulsifer. It has been moved and seconded that staff reports be accepted as presented. All those in favor? Those opposed? The motion is carried. Thank you. As we move on, we have no unfinished business for this CAC, and we have no correspondence. However, we do have a piece of new business, and that is with regards to our October 28th meeting and swearing in. CAO, I'll hand this off to you, please.
Thank you, Your Worship. And Council, I guess I have good news and bad news. The good news is we're looking forward to the swearing in of our mayor, who we know who that's going to be, and also our new council, some of whom will be familiar faces, thankfully. But it has to be different than in the past. That's the bad news. In the past, we've had the candidates or councillors elect, I should say, bring their family and have their family be part of it all. With the circumstance that we have and balancing the need to remain on Facebook Live for those members of the public who have shown an interest in what council does, we're going to do it a little differently. So we do hope to have both the current council and the new council. And the way the meeting will be set up is there'll be some old business done by the current council, and then there's a swearing in process and the new business with the new council. Very little, hopefully. But there is some things to do there in terms of getting people sworn in. It looks like instead of having a judge come in to swear everyone in, again, recognizing the numbers and the size of the room, you may have to rely on the town clerk to swear you in. And it turns out that as interim CAO, I'm also your town clerk. So I'm not as interesting to look at as a member of the court, that's for sure, and no disrespect meant, but we're just trying to keep the numbers down as we have in the building. So the report that was sent out suggested that the solicitor would swear you in, but no, it turns out it's the clerk. So I'll do my best. I've got the advice from the solicitor, so I know what to do there. And then at the end of the meeting, we'll talk a little bit about committees. We're hoping to work on the committees a little later, informally, perhaps initially, and then with you at the November 8th CAC meeting. And again, just for information and subject to checking the pulse of the incoming councillors, we're hoping to set up a process to be with you for a few weeks on a Thursday morning, if possible, to do some orientation. So certainly early next week, we'll do the calendar checks and see whether people are able to do that. So that's the overview. Are there any questions on it for those of you that are optimistic and expect to be with us, and also for those of you who are either retiring or are not so optimistic? But we do have a process to acknowledge both of you.
Are there any questions? Councillor Savage.
Thank you, Worship. CAO Smith, just a question around the committees of council. When you talk about reviewing those, are you talking about reviewing sort of the composition of them as well as what is entailed in them?
Thank you for the question. I think we're really just going to kind of make sure that all members of council, both the new and the returning ones, know what the list of committees is, so that when we start to talk about them, they'll have an idea of which they like. But we weren't necessarily talking about changing the construction or the structure of the committees, but just previewing that issue a little bit with council.
Okay, great. Thank you very much.
Are there any further questions on this matter for the CAO? All right, the one thing I will note is that the date of that meeting will be October 28th, which is a Wednesday. And what that does is it enables us to have the full 10 days for a recount if necessary from election day. So as a note to file, that is October the 28th, and we will be doing a 6 p.m. meeting. All right, moving on to our next business, public comments. So we have no public comments. So I will call for a recess, and I recommend that council take a short recess from the current CAC meeting to hold a special council meeting to approve the Valley Region Solid Waste Resource Management Authority debenture refinancing. So I motion to recess the CAC meeting to conduct a special meeting. If I could have a motion, please.
So moved.
Thank you, and I'll take your second, Councillor Bolland. Deputy Mayor, how say you? We have to vote on it because of the.
Yes, sorry, yes.
Thank you. No, that's okay. Councillor Andrews, how say you?
Yes.
Councillor Bolland, how say you?
Yes.
Councillor Maxwell, how say you?
Yes.
Councillor Pulsifer, how say you?
Yes.
Councillor Savage, how say you?
Yes.
I say yes, the motion is carried. We are now on a recess to move into a special council meeting. I will call this meeting to order, and CAO Smith, there being no changes to our roll, we can dispense with the roll call. And there's only one agenda item on this, this meeting, and that is approval of the Valley Waste debenture. And if I could have a motion to accept the proposed agenda, please.
So moved.
Thank you. And a seconder? Thank
Second.
you. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? The motion is carried. Thank you. So our business and CAO Smith, if you could please provide us with the recommendation from the October 13th, 2020 Council Advisory Committee meeting outlining the Valley Waste debenture.
Thank you, Council, and for your benefit and for those that might be watching on Facebook Live. The full motion that we're ratifying is on page 62 in the package. So if people want to see what it is that we're guaranteeing, it's there. So we have a recommendation from the Council Advisory Committee to approve the guarantee resolution for Valley Region Solid Waste Resource Management Authority in the amount of $945,000, of which the town of Kentville's share is 9.9%, or a total of $94,406. And further, following approval at this special council meeting of October 13th, that the resolution will be duly authorized, completed in triplicate, with 2 original documents returned to the Valley Region Solid Waste Resource Management Authority. That is your motion.
So moved.
Thank you. Thank you. Councillor Bolland, I got your second.
Thank you.
It has been moved and seconded that council approve the guarantee resolution for Valley Region Solid Waste Resource Management Authority in the amount of $945,000, of which the town of Kentville's share is 9.9%, for a total of $94,406. And further, following approval of the October 13th special council meeting and resolution, will be duly authorized and completed in triplicate, with 2 original documents returned to Valley Region Solid Waste Resource Management Authority. Is there any discussion on this matter? Councillor Gerard, I see your hand, Councillor Andrew.
Thank you, Worship. A question to Councillor Boland, who's on the Valley Waste, is, and it doesn't look like it, but I'm just wondering, I go to the dump probably twice a week for what I do. And it is, to use a friendly term, it is a nightmare to get in there. I go up where the bulk stuff is. I don't go into the to the transfer station. But my question, Councillor Boland, is: are any of the capital expenditures that they're looking to make, is there anything there that is going to relieve any of the congestion of debris?
I can't answer that question. I don't know. I've never heard that question before. You're the alternate. You could certainly send them an email and ask them that question, but you have the schedule for the capital project, so it is about more efficiency, moving things forward. So I think logically things should clean up and move along a lot quicker, but.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
I can't speak for the director, certainly.
Councillor Andrew.
I'm just wondering, Councillor Boland, do we have the status on our partners in this, or is there any indication of any hesitation from any of the other units?
I may let Brian answer that question. I've heard nothing to the contrary.
Okay, that's good.
Certainly through you, Your Worship, I've not heard of any. This is a guarantee resolution. It is important, but it is more or less a matter of form. And the board of the authority itself has reviewed and approved all these expenditures. So if there was any dissension, it would have come earlier on the budget itself. Yeah.
Beautiful, thank you.
Thanks, John.
All right, are you ready for the question? The question is on adoption of the motion to approve the guarantee resolution for Valley Region Solid Waste Resource Management Authority in the amount of $945,000, of which the town of Kentville's share is 9.9% for a total of $94,406. And further, following approval at the October 13th special council meeting, the resolution will be duly authorized and completed in triplicate with 2 original documents returned to Valley Region Solid Waste Resource Management Authority. All those in favor? All those opposed? The motion is carried. Thank you very much. I require a motion to adjourn this special council meeting.
So moved.
Thank
Second.
you. Special council meeting is adjourned. If we can move back into our CAC meeting, and the CAC meeting is recalled from the recess. So the council has confidential land business, which must be conducted in a closed session. We require a motion to go into that closed session to discuss the agenda item. We will not be returning to Facebook Live for the adjournment. If I could have a motion to move into camera. Thank you, Councillor Savage. And a second, Councillor Boland, thank you. It has been moved and seconded that council move into the closed session. The question is on adoption of the motion to move into the closed session. All those in favor? Those opposed? Carried. It is now 7:16 and we are in camera.
Your Worship, not quite. Jason's going to turn over the hosting duties to me, I would assume.
Okay, we're off Facebook Live. I noticed the icon is gone.